Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today, we're going to be going over another one of the unique items for the Sorceress, which is the Flamescar Unique Wand. The Flamescar Unique Wand is very hyper-specific to not only the Sorceress, but also to the Incinerate skill itself. And let's go ahead and equip one of these so that we can have it active. Now, the Flamescar does have a new lucky hit bonus on it, which is up to a 40% chance to deal 6,000 fire damage. Which I'm not really sure why they changed the implicit to a lucky hit, but it also gives 130 life on hit as well. So not only do you get free fire damage coming from the implicit on the weapon, but it also gives you basically what is kind of amounts to a free life leech, although it's not necessarily life leech, it's life on hit, which is a little different. But it could potentially pair up very well with, say, a pair of temerities, as an example, because of course temerities give you barrier depending on whether you heal yourself, and as you are utilizing something like the Flamescar, I'm not sure if I have a pair of temerities in the stash here, but temerities, I do not have a pair of temerities in the stash right now. They're probably on one of my mules. I had to mule off so many items because I've basically had to collect every single unique item in the game. I hope you guys do appreciate these videos because man, it's taken me a lot of effort to get all these done. The Flamescar, however, has two passives, where most weapons only have one passive, which is kind of interesting. So not only are you getting free damage, but you're also getting free life leech as well, which kind of fits thematically with the way this item works, and it's very simple. Like, when you're channeling, you can't move, right? And because if you're channeling and you can't move, then you're going to take lots of damage. So having life leech on here makes a lot of sense thematically for a character who can't move, because you're going to have to take the damage, which means you're going to have to heal. On top of this, it also has 153 to 225 intelligence, which is definitely nice because that's your scaling stat for sorceresses. And it also has 8% to 12.5% lucky hit chance, which is really nice. I've actually played a lot of builds with the Incinerate, and one of the things that I played around with was the idea of kind of just like setting up the Sorceress to do everything automatically with the Flamescar, like getting a lot of lucky hit bonuses, working with the enchantments, as for example, trying to get as many things to happen like automatically as I possibly can. As you can see, I get like meteors falling down, and you can have all sorts of various things happening automatically as you're attacking. And so lucky hit bonus is kind of interesting for the whole Incinerate build, because you kind of want to do some automatic dojinks. That's definitely a nice one. On top of this, we also have 28.5 to 37.5 Incinerate size, which is going to make the Incinerate obviously bigger and hit more targets. And we have 4 to 6 ranks of Incinerate itself, which is going to be very nice, obviously, for beefing up the Incinerate skill as high as you can. Now, the main meat and potatoes of this item is while channeling Incinerate, you periodically will shoot embers that are attracted to enemies, dealing 7,352 fire damage at maximum, and it actually is kind of interesting. The burn may heal, but the pain is eternal, says the flavor text. Now, let's take a look at Inferno without the Flamescar. As you can see, it's still a decent little ability. You have the fire burning around you in a circle, and on top of this, you also, of course, have the main burning effect, which is going to add the stacking burning to the target. And as you can see, I can get lucky hit procs and things like that, which is certainly not terrible. However, when you put the Flamescar on, and which one of these is better? This one's better. When you put the Flamescar on, your Incinerate gets larger. As you can see, it's a much larger ability now. And on top of that, as you're casting it, you'll get these little tiny like projectiles that come out and just start attacking any target that happens to be nearby. So even if you're not attacking the target, you can see that they just kind of like seek the targets and dish out damage to them automatically. Now, when you're attacking directly on a target, you kind of won't see them because they kind of get lost in the Incinerate. Like, you see them a little bit. But if you turn your Incinerate away, you can really get a good look at how many projectiles are constantly being fired. And it definitely is a pretty healthy amount of projectiles that you can, of course, increase the damage of and scale, because it is fire damage, and you're scaling fire damage as a sorceress. This particular wand seems to be synonymous with incinerate builds. So if you're doing an incinerate build, it really just seems like one of the best options. Just simply because number one, it gives you many ranks to incinerate. Number two, it seems to be set up specifically for incinerate with the incinerate size. The life on hit is very effective to obviously help keep you alive while you're channeling. And overall, just a very, very effective wand for the ability. Now, there are other aspects that you can utilize with Incinerate nowadays that will make, like, for instance, Incinerate split into triple beams, which is really nice. And there's definitely a lot of aspects that will help Incinerate if you're trying to make an Incinerate build. It's not really a meme build. There are definitely some pretty powerful Incinerate builds. I'm not sure if they're like the creme de la creme utmost, like can clear 200 pits or anything, but that's neither here nor there. So we have Conflagration, which is while channeling Incinerate, your burning damage is increased by 40% times. Enemies damaged by Incinerate. Explode, burning all surrounding enemies by 8,455 over 6 seconds and can only occur once every 3 seconds. And then there's also the Flamethrowers aspect now, which is Incinerate splits into 3 beams, dealing 85 times normal damage. So basically giving you 3, going outward, like 2 go outward like this, and the main one still stays in the center. And it definitely works to give you a large amount of additional damage for the build.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
There's also a lot of effects that just simply work with fire damage. For instance, we've got of course, aspect of elements works. When newly burning an enemy, you deal an additional 5,514 fire damage to them. This effect is treated as a pyromancy skill. And then there's also, I know for a fact, with the burning effects, yes, the aspect of engulfing flames. You deal 45 times increased burning damage to enemies below 50% life. Additionally, you deal 100 times increased burning damage to enemies while they are affected by more damage over time than their total life. There's a lot of fun ways that you can potentially increase your burning damage and like get this build working. But one thing that I would definitely recommend to anyone who is trying to make an Incinerate build is you've got to conquer the first and foremost problem of the build, which is that you can't move. Anything that you do from that point inexorably has to stem from the fact that you are unable to move. So if you are doing an Incinerate build, you have to conquer the non-movement first, which means that you're going to need damage reduction. I highly recommend that you take this aspect, which is the Destructive Incinerate. Enemies deal 30% less damage while burning from Incinerate. This is going to make it easier for you to stand there and actually dish out damage. You're also going to want really nice damage reduction, maybe something like a Beautiful Materials Might to give you all the resistances and damage reduction in the world. And something like that can also come in handy because you get all the free little procs as well. You may also want to consider something like Temerity to give you basically a scaling active barrier, which is going to keep that barrier active on you all the time. Because Flamescar has that beautiful life on hit on it, the barrier that comes from Temerity should be nearly permanent as long as you can keep your life up, and the barrier obviously will prevent your HP from being attacked. You could also potentially use Soulbrand here instead with a nice greater affix on the damage reduction while healthy, and focus on basically just getting barriers. So Soulbrand and Temerity together could be an absolutely unstoppable defensive strategy for something like the Incinerate Flamescar build. It's all very interesting to think about and talk about. I built a Incinerate Sorceress myself during one of the seasons, and it was very fun. It's gotten better since then. I wouldn't say that it was the most powerful build that I had ever created, but being able to stand in the center of the area and spin in circles is a hilarity and a fun all on its own that I think most people should experience. And it works really good for farming like HellTides and stuff like that. You just basically stand there in the maiden area and you just spin in circles while everybody spawns the maidens. It's pretty beautiful. Now, if you're trying to get your hands on this particular item, you can head over to Diablo4.life, but I do know for a fact that this particular item comes from Duriel and Andariel. But we do have a tool here. It's the Target Farming Unique tool. And you can just click on Sorc, and then you go down to Flamescar, which is right here. And as you can see, Duriel, King of Maggots, and Andariel, Maiden of Anguish. So if you're trying to get your hands on a nice one of these, you're going to be farming Duriel and Andariel for a little while. On top of that, the greater affixes on this could definitely come in handy to beef up the damage on this tremendously. First off, I'd really like to get a greater affix on that lucky hit chance, because I feel like the build is kind of designed around automated sorceress, basically, where you are getting all the effects to happen automatically. For instance, I probably wouldn't be using Frozen Orb enchantment, because that one requires you to actually cast a skill multiple times, whereas Meteor does not. Right. So in this particular case, if I were to build an Incinerate Sorceress, I would probably go Meteor along with this, and then I would probably also go with the it could be either the fireball, enemies explode when you kill them for the fireball damage, or we could also be going with the firewall for the basically the free firewalls that come out. You could also potentially put the blizzard enchantment on there, just so you have additional damage reduction and chilling at any monster that comes near you, because it'll just spawn blizzards on top of you as you are, using your incinerate. Which is another interesting way that you can add in some automation to the build. There's a lot of various ways that you can do this, and quite honestly, I think that the lucky hit is kind of the most important here, to make sure that you're getting as many of those proccing effects off as you can. Incinerate size is not really super important, but as you masterwork it, it's going to get pretty high anyway. It caps out, I think, at 100%. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too crazy about it. Greater affix on the incinerate and the intelligence would also be very nice, of course, because ranks to incinerate is going to enhance your damage as well, and also intelligence is going to enhance your damage. So honestly, if you had like a quad greater affix here, would be really, really nice, obviously. But the main effect, which is the incinerate periodically shoots embers, is the 7,352 fire damage. So you want to make sure you find one that has a really high number on that, because otherwise your little cinders that are coming out aren't really going to be worth scaling, and then you'd be better off with something else. I think that's pretty much it for Flamescar. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining my videos, even when we're just talking about the Incinerate Wand Flamescar. If you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And as always, keep watching.